November 12, 1961. The Bahamas. For the Duperrault family, Dr. Arthur, his wife Jean, and their 3 children, Brian, Terry Jo, and Renee, it was the vacation of a lifetime. A week-long charter aboard the beautiful 60-foot ketch, the Bluebelle. The sea was calm, the sun was warm, and the family was finally together. But beneath the idyllic surface of this perfect trip, a darkness was brewing. A darkness piloted by the boat's captain, Julian Harvey, a man with a chilling past and a deadly secret. This is the story of a dream vacation that became a nightmare, and the 11-year-old girl who survived to tell the tale. Before we dive into the terrifying details of the massacre at sea and the incredible survival story of Terry Jo Duperrault, take a moment to hit that like button, share this video with a friend, and most importantly, subscribe to the Calendar of Crime so you don't miss future episodes of true crime history. The Duperrault family had saved for years for this trip. Dr. Arthur Duperrault, a successful optometrist, wanted to give his family an unforgettable experience. They were joined by the captain, Julian Harvey, and his wife, Dene Harvey, who was also the cook. Harvey was a decorated former Air Force pilot, seemingly charming and capable. But his past was littered with suspicious incidents, multiple bankruptcies, a previous boat sinking where he collected insurance, and a car accident that killed his second wife and mother-in-law, from which he miraculously escaped unharmed. He was a man with a pattern of profiting from tragedy. The trip began perfectly, with the family enjoying the Bahamian Islands. But Harvey was under financial strain, and he had recently taken out a large insurance policy on his wife, Dene. The motive for the coming horror was almost certainly money. On the night of November 12th, the Bluebelle was anchored near the island of Great Sail Cay. 11-year-old Terry Jo Duperrault was asleep in her cabin when she was jolted awake by a scream. It was a high-pitched, desperate sound that could only be her mother. Terry Jo went to investigate and saw a horrifying sight. Her mother, Jean, and the captain, Julian Harvey, struggling in the main cabin. Harvey then shoved Terry Jo back into her bunk. A short time later, Harvey came back to her cabin, carrying a knife. He told her to go up on deck. As she walked past the main cabin, she saw the bodies of her mother and her brother, Brian, lying in pools of blood. On deck, Harvey ordered her to hold a rope, claiming the boat was sinking. He then disappeared below deck, presumably to finish his deadly work, which included the murder of his own wife, Dene, and the rest of the Duperrault family. Harvey returned and, in a final act of calculated cruelty, threw Terry Jo a small cork life raft. He then abandoned the Bluebelle, leaving the little girl alone on the sinking ketch. Terry Jo, showing incredible presence of mind, managed to untie the small cork float just as the Bluebelle went down. For 4 days and 3 nights, the 11-year-old drifted alone in the vast, unforgiving Atlantic. She had no food, no water, and was exposed to the relentless sun and the cold night air. Meanwhile, Julian Harvey was picked up by a passing freighter, the Gulf Lion. He spun a tale of a sudden squall, a broken mast, and the tragic loss of his wife and the Duperrault family. He was hailed as a hero. But on November 16th, a Greek freighter, the Captain Theo, spotted a tiny cork float. On it was Terry Jo Duperrault, barely alive, severely dehydrated, but conscious. Terry Jo's rescue was a miracle. When she was well enough to speak, her quiet, unwavering testimony exposed Harvey's lies. The moment Julian Harvey heard the news that the little girl had survived, his carefully constructed facade crumbled. On November 17th, 1961, just hours after learning Terry Jo was alive, Julian Harvey checked into a Miami motel and committed suicide, leaving behind a note that confessed to nothing but confirmed his guilt. Terry Jo Duperrault's survival was the only justice the victims would ever receive. The Bluebelle Murders remain one of the most chilling examples of a predator hiding in plain sight, and a testament to the extraordinary resilience of a young girl. Thanks for watching. Please comment, share, Like and subscribe for future episodes from the Calendar of Crime.